Hello everyone, welcome back to another session. This is the final session that I'll be doing, so I'm going to mix in quite a lot of what we've done previously, but there will be some new tricks in there. So let's get going. Hopefully you've got a space ready to train. So with the ball, guys, I want you to move it around on the floor and you're going to use the sole of your foot. So nice and easy, just jogging on top of the ball, as we always do, just to get yourself warmed up, get yourself moving for the day, and then start to build up the speed, get up on your toes, start to move forwards if you can do, you can move back, keep your head up, get those arms involved as well. Just get yourself moving and exercising. We'll just shift quickly to the insides. Nice and easy, inside to inside. Just moving that ball around. And back to top, back to soles. You might want to slowly build up the speed, maybe go a tiny bit faster. Maybe start to move around a little bit. And then back to insides, nice and easy. Limbering up for the session. Okay, let's go side to side with the sole now. So this is going to lead into our first move that we're going to learn, which is a turn on the ground. So side to side with the sole, nice and easy, and then start to build up the speed a little bit faster. And back to top of the ball. It's going to mix it up, literally keeping you on your toes. And inside. Move around if you can. Side to side with the sole. Nice and wide if you can. Up. And inside. Little touches. Taps on top. Awesome, guys. Okay, this move looks like this. This is a single skill we're going to learn. So you're going to go across and then move the ball. Across. And then move the ball. So what you're going to do, like we did our side to sides with the sole, like this, you're going to drag the ball, like we've done before with the Ronaldo step over, but the ball is going to stay in front of you, and then this foot here is going to come behind to basically stop the ball from going in that direction. So it's like you're faking to pass or shoot in that direction, and then you're going to move it in this direction. So drag across, foot comes behind, and then move that way. So think of it as the second part being an exact reversal of the first part. So what I mean by that is you stop and then just reverse. So come across, stop, and then reverse. And if you have got it, you can start to maybe add a little bit of speed on there. So you're here, across, and back. Here, across, and then back. So remember, drag with the sole and stop it with, it's a bit of flexibility because you're stopping it with the outside of your foot, like that. So your outside of your foot is kind of placed down on the ball, and then you turn out in this direction. So you go in one side, back out the other. Now, if you've got the gist of it, like I say, you can add a bit of speed. If you've got the space to train in, you can maybe start to move that ball around. We've got our different dribbling techniques. Then we go skill, and then move off. Skill, and then move off. So work to your own speed, guys. If you want to keep watching me do it, that might help as well. So I'm just doing it in lots of different directions. Across, back. If anyone fancies a bit of a challenge, you can do a dummy version of this. So this is very, very popular in street soccer. And what it is rather than going straight into the move, you're going to basically dummy and then bring it back like that. Quite a cool one. So what you're going to do, basically you're doing a step over while that ball is behind you. So you drag, you're going to step, and then bring it back. So here you're going to step around and then bring it back. So it's a tiny movement, but it just delays it ever so slightly. But that's more advanced. So what I would say is really master this one before you go into the dummy. So the dummy is that. If you want to look this particular move up, Thierry Henry did it for like quite a few times in a game for Arsenal, and he would quite often use it in like a corner. So he'd have the ball on the wing, he'd sort of fake one way, and then he would pass the ball out. So it's really worth looking at players doing these skills in a game because it gives you an idea of like how they can integrate in there. So last couple of seconds, guys, you can either go the first version, or you can add that little skip, that little step over. It's more of a skip than a step over because it's really hard to get your whole foot around it, but it's just that little delay before we come back like that. Awesome, guys. Okay. Well done. Hopefully you're nice and warm now. So we're going to do a skill now that's starting on the ground but ending up in the air, and it's based on the Maradona spin like this. Now this was like a really popular move in FIFA when I was younger, and we used to call it the FIFA Flick. So basically you do the Maradona spin and then you go into a flick like that. Now there's a lot going on, but we're just going to break it down. So the first bit is your Maradona spin, where you're going to go across like this. Now, if you want to keep practicing the Maradona today, completely fine, but we are going to show you like different ways of getting it over your head to make it a little bit more difficult. So the Maradona is this: you're going to run towards the ball. You've probably done it before, but you're going to pirouette. One foot comes here, then you step, then you push around like that. So just get yourself familiar with that Maradona spin. I always like to practice both sides, so I'll go one with my right here, and then I'll go one with my left, like this. So right, left. Okay, so that's the Maradona, the pirouette. Some people call it the Zidane because he was very good at it. Now we're going to add that flick up in there. So it's a flick up we've already done, and it's this one, switch scoop. So the ball starts under one foot and it comes back to the opposite foot. Now, if you've not mastered that, it'll be really hard to put all this together. So maybe work a little bit on that particular skill. And the tips I've given you before have been just to slow it down initially to get used to it and then build up your speed. But basically, when you put those two things together, here's the tricky part, because as you do your step here, you want to go into that straight away. So take it slow. So the ball will be still. Imagine you're going to rope to it. You're going to go one step, and then as you come over, you're going to flick up like this. It's very strange if you've never done it before, because what we're going to do eventually is touch, 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 and then this can be a kick over your head. But we'll come to that in a second. I know it's quite difficult, so just be super patient. So you dribble in, touch, step, spin, and you might want to hold it there. And then from here, you want to get into that flick there. So you're moving with the ball, you go one step here, flick, and then there. And then moving on to the final bit, all it is a kick over your head. So you're in this position. Right now you've got your back to the goal or the direction you want to go, which isn't good. So you got to kick it behind you. I always favor the outside of my foot because I'm used to like kicking the ball with the outside of my foot. When you can simply kick it over your head with your laces like that. Just be careful if you're in your kitchen You don't want to be breaking any ornaments, but maybe one for outside if you want to kick it quite high. But again, if you want to practice that on its own, you can maybe do the flick and then the kick. So forget the first bit. This is how I break skills down anyway. So flick, kick, and then it goes over like that. Oh no, broke my light there. That's a perfect example of doing this in a bigger space, but hey ho. So put all that together and you've got a spin over and then moving off like that. So 1, 2, 3, over the head like that. So FIFA Flick, nice skill, quite difficult, but even if you can only do those tricks like on their own, they're still pretty good tricks to learn, okay? So, taking it up to freestyle, we're going to quickly go over that around the world. Every player wants to learn it, so we're going to recap it. So the around the world, I'll show you a little combo now. Looks like this. So you've got different ways of doing it, all different ways, which require practice, but it all starts from technique. So what I've said to you previously is the technique is all in one motion, right? A lot of players, they try and do this. They'll flick it up and then they'll try and go around it. That just makes life a lot harder. So a bit of a hack to get that technique is to do it from the ground. Even with a bounce like that. Don't worry about doing it all in one. Focus on your technique. So you'll see the difference, like the wrong way of doing it is like a flick and then over. But what you want to focus on is all in one motion. So if the ball's in your hand like that, you can actually do the harder version like that. That takes up way more energy than that. So you probably noticed that the ball's spinning ever so slightly, and it's the spin that allows you to get around at the same time. Whereas when it's like that, it's really hard even with your hands. So replicating that with your toe, you can either go outside ways or inside ways. 2 ways you can do it. There's no right or wrong, just maybe pick the one that's most natural to you for now, and then you can learn the other one after that. So maybe have a go at that one, back, around, and keep that ball in the air. So you want to keep it as low as possible as well. Little touches are key with all of these moves. And if you wanted to try another variation, so yesterday we did controlling touches. I'll move that down a bit so you can see my feet a little better. So yesterday we did a lot of controlling touches, keeping the ball nice and low. And I think a really nice way to get into the around the world is one-footed kick-ups. Now these can be tricky, so we'll go through them dead quick. So you'll have the ball in front of you and you're going to roll it up and just see how many taps you can do. But the focus is keeping it low, right? You'll notice that I'm doing tons of little taps and I'm actually not putting this foot down, which is a bit of a workout for this leg because it's all about your balance and coordination. So you'll bring the ball back, you'll do your little tiny touches with your toe, and to begin with, that'll happen, right? The ball will fall, it'll go every way. That's normal, don't worry. I've been doing this a long time, so it does feel easier for me because I've put in a lot of hours of practice. But just be really, really, just try and be confident, but also just realize that nothing happens overnight. Patience, that's the word I'm after. So bring the ball back, see how many touches you can do before it falls. But remember, low touches, tiny touches. How small can you make those touches? Can you keep it below your knee? And what you're doing there, so we'll go back to the around the world now, is replicating that tiny touch with the technique that we did from the floor. So you're doing your little touches and you're going around. So to begin with, you'll be doing this type of thing, or you might be doing this type of thing, where you do an acca by accident and it goes into the goal. That's fine, don't worry, it will come. You've just got to keep repeating it over and over. So touches. Can you get over the ball? Or can you get over with a bounce? Can you get over with 2 bounces? Even if you use 3 bounces, try and get that technique right as it comes round. Very important. Okay, guys, so there you go. That's the around the world. Really, it takes practice. It takes like patience, like I said before, but it kind of unlocks other skills. So, for example, when I was learning freestyle, I learnt my around the world like this, and then I learnt hop the world, which was usually a bit better than that. I did it like that, and then eventually I kicked it and went round. Like that. So just learning that one technique can unlock so many other skills. So we've covered this very briefly, but I'm going to go over it and I'm going to add a skill to it, and it's called the crossover. So the crossover is this. Now, if you want to practice that, you can do. It's basically a kick up behind the leg. So you're going to kick behind like that. Quite a tricky one. But again, there's a really cool way of learning it from the ground, and it looks like this. So you'll drag the ball back and then hop like that. So you're passing the ball to yourself. So you're basically rolling it back to yourself like this. And as you're back pedaling, what you want to do is keep your eye on the ball and then jump up like this. And that jump, when it's timed right, should send the ball up slightly, and then you go into your kick-ups. It's basically the crossover from the ground. It's a very cool skill. So you do your pass back. You're going to try and hop up, hop up, hop up, hop up, can't even say it, and then try and get the ball into the air. So pass to yourself here, and then can you pop it up from there. And if you're at a level where that's quite easy to you, I would suggest just going into that crossover. So the crossover, connecting with the laces, just maybe go from the bounce to start with, kick and catch. Try and get it back to your hands. Requires a lot of power, this one, because you're jumping and you've got to really emphasize that movement. It can be quite a tough one to learn, but once you've got it, again, it does become easy after time. So bounce, nice jump, and then back. So you bounce, nice jump, and then back. You can do the half volley version, which is more on the heel. So I've covered this before, but just to remind you, as the ball goes through your legs, you're going to take it up like that. So the crossover, the ball never hits the ground. It's a big jump. Whereas the half volley one, you let it, it's more of a relaxed skill. As the ball comes down, you're going to let it pass through and then up again. And then from your kick-ups, you're in this position like that. The crossover move, what you'll find is when you do it, the ball will go forward. Like that happened to me so much. So I quite often practiced in front of a wall. Where I lived, I had this wall, and I would literally kick the ball against it, control it, kick it back, but it meant that I would never lose the ball. So if you've got an environment at home that's like quite condensed, maybe not a kitchen or front room because you might end up breaking something, but just maybe a backyard or even on the street, as long as it's safe, just to have like an environment where the ball will keep coming back to you. Because like one of the main things we've got to do when we learn is fail. Like if you keep safe all the time and do what you can do all the time, you're not going to progress. So a big part of that is like creating an environment that's like going to help you, maybe inspire you a little bit. Like it's just important to get into those good habits because that reflects everything you do in life as well. So maybe bear that in mind. So we've got our crossover, we've got our around the world. Now I'm going to finish off with a very famous skill, which was probably not created, but it was made famous by Zlatan Ibrahimovic, called the popcorn flick, like that. So it's really stylish because it comes from nowhere. And you're going to use the toe to push down and pop that ball in the air. So if you've ever seen basketball players, I can't do this, but they'll sometimes with the balls on the floor, they'll sort of do this thing. Oh, I did it then, that wasn't bad. They'll do this thing. There you go, I can do it, putting myself down, where they flick the ball up. It's the same thing with your feet. So this is how it works. Toe's going to sort of be on top of the ball, like directly down the middle of the ball. And then from this position, what you want to try and do is kick back like that. So it kind of defies gravity because you're kicking back, but the ball comes up. So watch the ball first. So you'll see it kind of spin up. And now watch my legs, see how far back I kick. You want to try and replicate that. So here, I always really exaggerate that. I imagine, make sure there is no one there first, obviously. Imagine there's someone behind you and you want to kick them because they're annoying you. But keep the legs straight. All the power comes from there. So, foot ahead of the ball. Remember, not foot here. A lot of players sort of put the foot here and then it just becomes that one. So it's a completely different skill and it's a lot harder, this one. So take your time with it. Step ahead of the ball. Should have said that first, but that is the first step. So head of the ball, toe on top of the ball. And, think of the ball as a clock, 12 o'clock, directly on top. And then the third step is the push. Like that. So, one foot here, toe down, push back, like that. Now, bit of homework for you over the weekend. Famous advert in around 2003, a player called Zlatan, who we've mentioned before, you probably know who he is, did this on an advert for Nike where he popped the ball up and he did a volley into the net. And I think he even hit a target as well. It was crazy. This was like nearly 20 years ago. So when I watched that as a kid, I was like, got to learn that skill. But he does it better than anyone else. So get on YouTube, Joga Bonito it was called, which means play beautiful in Portuguese, I think. And yeah, watch that skill because it's a really good one. I think we've just got a quick comment in here. Thanks guys. Yeah, Kevin's learning the popcorn flick, which is good. Yeah, hope that helps, Kev. I'm going to be very much of a show off now and show you an advanced variation because if you can get it, this is what it'll look like if you take it to the next level. Reverse popcorn flick. Right, I'm putting myself under pressure. Let's see if I can do it. Yes, did it. So the reverse popcorn flick, you are going to go, do you remember the first skill? We did like this. So that same part of the body where we stop it, the same part of the foot, where we stop it, that's the part of the foot. You're going to go on the opposite side now. Same technique, but it's all from behind you. So foot here, and you'll see it slowly start to pop up. So it's that same technique to get it up. And then once you start to feel it come up, get that foot on there as well. Keep that ball in the air. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed those skills. I think the main thing to take away from the session is just enjoy the ball, enjoy training, try and do something every day. 5 minutes is better than nothing. 5 seconds is better than nothing. So positive habits every single day will create something quite special over time. So stay well. Hopefully you'll be back out to play with your teams very shortly. Maybe you are already playing with your teams, which is such a good sign. So maybe use some of these skills in a game, but master them first. Remember, master them, and then everyone will be like, where did you learn that from? All the best, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. And I was going to say I'll see you soon, but this is the last live feed. So if you want to see me again, go back over the sessions, maybe do 5 minutes a day of them, and then you'll start to build up them skills. And if you do, you can always send me the tricks that you're learning, like tag me on social media, things like Instagram and TikTok, because I love seeing youngsters learning the skills. So stay well, guys, and all the best for the future.